Hi, my name is Mike Dillard, and this is Self-Made Man, the podcast for men who want to leave their mark on the world and create a legacy of honor, integrity, and achievement in every aspect of their lives. I'm glad you're here, and once again, it is time to forge your destiny. When it comes to entrepreneurship, one of the most common pieces of advice you'll hear is to turn your passion into your business. That's how I've started all of my companies, and that's how Rachel's began as well. Recently divorced and unhappy with what she saw in the mirror, Rachel made a decision to change her diet and her health. So she started a simple fan page on Facebook called Clean Food Crush, where she began posting pictures of the dishes that she made each day. And within a few months, well, people took notice, and today her hobby has turned into a growing empire with a social media following of over 1.3 million fans and 6 figures per month in revenue. And, well, there's one more thing. She's managed to do all of this while raising 4 kids. Well, today we're going to find out how she's managed to pull this off, so please help me welcome Rachel Macer. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Mike Dillard here, and today we're going to be talking to a friend of mine who has built an absolutely amazing business and story for herself over the last couple of years. She now has over 1.2 million fans on her Facebook page, over 200,000 subscribers on Instagram, and she has an absolutely fascinating story about how she got her business started. So, Rachel Macer, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike. I'm so excited to be here. When you asked me to be on the show, I was really excited and also nervous to talk to you today because I'm a fan of your show. I listen all the time. It's helped me a ton in my business. And I was also hesitant and intimidated because I know that you have interviewed a ton of extremely successful businessmen and podcasters, speakers, authors. I'm a mom of 4 kids. So
well, I don't know if that's the only thing on your resume anymore these days. And well, one, thank you for listening and being a supporter. That's awesome to hear. And, you and I have kind of been friends and followed each other for a couple of years now. And it's been absolutely amazing to see what you have accomplished with Clean Food Crush. And it's just unbelievable. So I am really grateful that you're here because I cannot wait to hear the story about how you have built this little business. And I figured that we should start with the beginning of this process, which, really came about when you went through your divorce. And that's a huge transition going from, full-time mom of 4 kids to figuring out what in the world you're going to do with your life. And so if you wouldn't mind, I think it would be really, really inspiring for a lot of single parents out there if you could take us back to that period in your life and walk us through that.
So I had been building a following online for several years, and it never started out as a plan. I didn't seek out, I'm going to build a following. I started sharing recipes for a fitness group I was going to locally. So I was just sharing things with local friends, and it really just began to build. During that time also, my husband at the time of 15 years, we were discussing divorce a great deal. And because we have 4 kids, I think no matter what, divorce is it's one of the most challenging, stressful, scary times of your life. The fact that we had 4 children and we were both super dedicated to making the transition easy for them. And we were both scared to death. I mean, we had both came from divorced families. And it was a mess growing up. All the stories that you hear, the parents fighting, not letting the other parent see the other child for a little while because they're upset over something, moving to different states, all that kind of stuff. We both have those types of stories. But our parents did the best they could. But that is what we grew up with. And that's what we knew as divorce. That's what divorce was. And we also, we have friends, and typically it's not the best thing. It's very challenging. So we were really scared. The kids were still pretty young. They still are pretty young. But we had finally decided that it was time. And so we filed divorce. During that entire time, my ex-husband, he was running his own business. He ran his own business, and I had helped a little bit from home, but I was mostly a stay-at-home mom, and I was just sharing my hobby online. And when we had decided at about the time that we decided for sure we're filing, we did it a different way. I mean, most people, just the divorce part takes several years. The court, there's custody battles, there's money issues. I was told that I was pretty crazy at the time, but I decided that it was best. I felt very strongly. I had just began to make money with my business, and I felt very strongly that it was very important that we just make it as easy as possible. We didn't fight or argue about the visitation, the kids. We simply agreed that we would always agree. And I know that that sounds crazy and that people say that's not going to work. It has completely worked for us. I think because we were both very dedicated to making it work.
Yeah, I can absolutely appreciate that. And if you might as well make the best of a bad situation. There's no point in making it worse, right?
Right.
So I think that's absolutely commendable, and it's somewhat reflective of my situation and how we settled ours as well. And so I commend you both for that, and that's such a great example that will hopefully, demonstrate to some couples out there who are going through it that, hey, this doesn't have to be a horrific battle. This can be a very mutual, resolution. So,
right. It really doesn't have to be. And both people do have to take responsibility. I know that I'm not always right. He knows that he's not. And we've really met in the middle and made it about the kids. We were texting just this morning. He's joking with me. He asked to have the kids for a couple extra days this weekend, and what he's taking them to do. I am so excited for them. So I'm like, yes, please take them. I'll take my days some other time. And we just work it out. The kids come first. And a lot of times you have to bite your tongue. And people ask, how do you make it work? And I think one of the reasons I'm pretty huge about, you put deposits into other people's buckets so often, and you say, yes, 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 you're kind to them. When you do need those favors, it's okay to ask because I have so many deposits there. So that's really how I've handled ever since the divorce. If I've made sure that the deposits are there, I help whenever I can. I say yes. I try to be, and it's made a world of difference for the kids.
That's awesome. That's so cool. So, once that's kind of finalized and a new chapter of your life is starting, you're obviously very, very passionate about food and clean eating. What inspired that passion to begin with? How did you get into healthy foods and clean eating?
I could talk for hours about this one subject, but I'm gonna try to make it short. So throughout my 20s, I'm a mom. The 4 kids are at home, and a lot of different family members had owned restaurants, bakeries. You see the commercials on TV, the Toll House cookie mom, and she's happy and smiling and looks healthy, and she's baking the kids cookies, and they get chocolate chip cookies as they walk in from school. And you start to envision that's what it's supposed to be like. That's what a mom does. And I loved cooking and searching the internet for recipes and making cookies. And especially it was cookies and sugar and cupcakes. And let's see if we can make fancier cupcakes. And I thought I was being such a good mom. I thought that's what a mom was because that's what we are fed through the media. And I felt like that's what I needed to do. And over years of time, throughout my 20s, I'm feeling progressively worse and worse. I'd had 4 children and I'm thinking, well, I'm just getting older. And after you have kids, this is how they say, this is how it's supposed to be. You start feeling more tired. You start feeling not great. You start gaining weight. That's just normal. So I had kind of just accepted it and went on. Although I think no matter what, you always feel like underneath it all, there is something different. Even though I was telling myself this is what I think I always knew. And I had been following my good friend Natalie Jill's page, her fitness page, for, 6 months, a year. And finally, it was fall. So it was like September. It wasn't a typical time somebody decides to dive into a new lifestyle or a diet and change their life. It was just a random day. And finally, I was like, you know what? I've had it. She looks so happy. She looks so great. She's always posting these stories of how her clients, so I'm going to download her program and I'm going to do it. I downloaded it. I immediately printed it off. I went shopping, I bought the stuff, and the next day, I immediately did it. I committed to myself. And I think at that point, I was just so sick of how I felt. And I was so inspired by how happy and the energy that she seemed to have that I wanted that. Within a week, I felt so much better because I wasn't consuming the sugar. I was consuming more vegetables. I feel like I always had eaten the vegetables, but when you're baking a lot and tasting things and eating the sugar, it really just drained you. It drained you of energy. It drained you of vitality. So within a week, I was like, wow, I feel so much better. And within a month, other people were like, my neighbors who saw me quite often, they were like, what in the world are you doing? You're glowing. You look so happy. And that was the only thing I had changed, was eating better, a lot better. And at that point, there was no going back, because I was like, I feel better than I had felt in my entire life, ever, my entire adult life. Once you've felt that, you just can't go back. And
yeah, I can absolutely appreciate that. One of the healthiest times I've ever felt as an adult was going on a completely 100% vegan raw diet for 3 months.
Wow.
And we had to hire a full-time chef to pull that off, but probably lost 20 pounds, had to buy an entire new wardrobe, and just felt absolutely amazing during that period. So I absolutely can understand the power of diet and what changing that can do for you. So clearly you've got the results, you're living it now, that sparked a new passion for you on this topic. And so what did you do next? Is that when you started Clean Food Crush on just as a Facebook page?
Yeah, I think about a month later, I joined the local fitness group. It was like a boot camp. We got up at 6 a.m. and we'd work out, and people started asking me, what are you eating? Because I was seeing good results, and they did it the other way. They started fitness first and they didn't know what to eat. So I kind of explained to them, and I was like, you know what? I'm making pizzas on top of bell peppers. And I would tell them, and they'd be like, what in the world is this girl talking about? This sounds so complicated. I'm like, no, it's so simple. So actually, I'll just start posting on Instagram. And they started following me. Within about a month, it climbed so fast. I would wake up and there would be 1,000 new people following me. And I was fascinated. I was like, why do these people care about what I'm sharing? Why do they even care? And they would be from all over, sometimes all over the world. And that was so fascinating. I'd peek at the people who overnight follow me, and they're so interesting. They're living these lives, just thousands. I just became completely fascinated with it. So I had built the Instagram up to about 20,000 pretty fast. It just happened. People enjoyed what I was sharing, and it was fun. It was a great outlet for me. Everybody needs something, a creative outlet, and so it was giving me that. And then about that time, I sent my my before and after pictures to Natalie. And the way I did it, I was just thanking her and telling her, I feel so much better. I have this new spark for life. And she has changed my life in so many more ways than just, I needed to lose a few pounds. My life has completely changed. I'm a new person. And she wrote back to me and said, I'm going to share this on my page, and thank you for the way you shared it, because usually people ask, Natalie, will you share this on your Instagram? And truthfully, that was not my intention at all. I just wanted to know what she had done for me. And she said, Rachel, I'm going to share this on my social media, and thank you for the way that you had shared it. So that's a good tip for people. If you're just genuinely thanking somebody, then that's a great way to have them want to share your story, because I was never asking for anything. And she went ahead and shared it, and she shared it multiple times. And she at that time had several 100,000 followers on Instagram and Facebook. And she just began sharing my stuff, and mine grew. It grew fast. The people who were following her were like, what are you doing? It's an extension of, I'm basically following Natalie's basic outline and her basic plan, but I'm making it simple, and we're doing creative meals out of it. So it just worked, and she helped me a ton.
So I want to absolutely back you up on your recommendation there. And in fact, I wrote about this in my book 10 years ago, because I found the same to be true, which is you have to be willing to give without want before you can get. So absolutely agree with you on that one. So you've got all of this momentum and attention coming to your Instagram account. When did you decide that, okay, I'm going to turn this, into a business and take it from a hobby and take it to the next level?
So sometime, I don't know, during that time, I had met enough people online and I had just started studying what Natalie was doing, how she turned it into a business. I was told, Rachel, you have to create an ebook. You need to start collecting opt-ins. Social media really isn't anything unless you're collecting the emails. And I dove into that and learned very fast how important it was. And so I literally scraped money together to get my opt-in built to begin just the very beginning of the infrastructure of, and within about 6 months, I had 20,000 people on my opt-in list, and I didn't even have a website yet. No website, just people were downloading a free book. I put some of my recipes together and they were downloading a free book and they were loving it. And even at that time, I was still like, I can't believe they're even interested in what I'm sharing with them or what I'm giving them. But they were, and they loved it, and they were thanking me for it all the time. So
what is your philosophy when it comes to food? What is Clean Food Crush all about? Because obviously everybody has their own little niche. It's paleo or, vegetarian. What is your philosophy?
So we focus on real food. And what sets me apart and Clean Food Crush as a company, I'm very aware that I cannot teach people everything. I am literally attracting people who are coming from living off the fast food, who are 50-year-old women who have never enjoyed a vegetable in their life, so they haven't eaten them in years because they do not know how to prepare them. So we are taking the very, very, very beginning people who are at the very beginning part of their journey. And my belief is that is honestly the hardest part. When you are so far down this road and you feel like there is no hope for yourself and you are living off of fast food and you feel terrible and you are 50 years old and you do not know how to prepare a vegetable, that is the hardest, to make that switch of, actually, this healthy food looks good. I think I could maybe make this tonight and maybe get my family to eat it. That is the hardest part, because once we get people to enjoy one or two vegetables or a couple healthy recipes, then they are hooked. They love it. They come back for more, and they learn. They go on and change their life, and it's so far beyond what I can teach them. And that makes me happy. I want people to just start down this road where their life is going to change. But there has to be something at the beginning that makes them feel like it's going to be simple. It's not going to be complicated. Their family will eat it if they make it look good. It needs to look appealing, and it can't take more of their time. So if we can get them to believe that, and they can experience what it feels like for a week or two eating more real food, eating vegetables for the first time in 20 years, which I have so many women who literally that's their story. And after a couple weeks, they start feeling better. And that's where they begin. And my goal for them is to help them as much as I possibly can, but I hope they go on for the rest of their life learning more, way more than what I can ever teach them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's awesome. If you just follow your posts on Instagram or Facebook, the food you're eating is all based on living ingredients for the most part. It's what's available in your produce section, and
it needs to be an ingredient, not have ingredients. That's what we try to focus on.
Nice.
Actual ingredients.
Very cool. So what was the first product that you started to offer or to sell? And what was it like when those first few orders started to come in?
Oh, okay. So the very first thing, I wrote an online pumpkin book, and I wrote it 3 years ago and sold it online. And it was a pretty cool feeling, except
your pumpkin book. What is that for everybody? What is that about?
Okay, so it's a pumpkin recipe book.
Okay.
And it was an ebook. It was download only. And I think we offered it at like $9. And so I don't know. It was a flop. Like I made a few $100s and I spent more trying to sell it than what. So it was a total flop, but for some reason I went on the next year and I self-published it and put it on Amazon, and it did so much better the next year. And I still continue to sell the ebooks, but that was my first experience, just having money go into my PayPal account. And I still at that point did not feel like I had a truly viable business. I never started this as a business. It was a hobby. I was just wanted to share. I actually had to go through the flip of seeing that it was okay to actually charge for what I was doing, because I didn't ever want to. I just was having fun as a hobby. But the interesting thing is, as soon as I started making money, it actually got more fun because I could do more with what I was able to do. So then after the pumpkin book was a total flop, I had, I really, really, really wanted this to work. Once my husband and I were separated, I wanted to be able to support myself, and I fully believed that I could. I had somebody talk me into pre-selling an ebook, and it was a cookbook, a 30-day cookbook. And I was so nervous. I didn't believe that anybody would actually want an online cookbook. People want a physical cookbook in their hands. And so I didn't know how it would work. I didn't know if people would be interested. My email list was like 20,000 at that time. We went ahead and pre-sold it for 45 days, and I made about 25 grand, just cash. That was profit. And I, at that point, was like, I have a business. This is, people want what I have. It sold really, really well. And I wasn't even able to provide them the product yet. They were just trusting me that I would give that to them. So after the pre-sale, I spent the time, wrote the cookbook, and sent it out. And that has been something we've sold for over a year and a half now.
Awesome. And so what else have you all developed since then?
So we went on to about 6 months after that. People were always asking me, they're like, I love your cookbook, but I would really like more help. And I'm thinking, who am I to help you? What are your questions? And I'll just help you. But no, they really wanted more help. So they were asking, can you mentor me? So we created a group, an online group. And again, the first few months were basically a flop. It cost more money to get the people into this group. I think the very first month we had like 20 people. And then, it went up just a little bit. And actually for a couple months, I stopped doing it because I'm thinking, this is ridiculous. I can't keep the business running on $2,000 a month. So I need a new plan. And even at that point, you know how they always say, don't have a backup plan. Well, when you have 4 kids and you're a single mom, you have a backup plan. I was literally like, I'm going to be Martha Stewart's social media person. I'm going to show her everything I've done. That was my backup plan. Well, I didn't ever have to fall back on my backup plan, but we reworked the program. We reworked the sales page, and we renamed the program. And in the fall, I had written down the exact number somewhere, but by fall, we were selling 500 a month. So we literally went from 20 to 500. And by this time, the email list had grown a ton. The social media had grown a ton. That group, it was so interactive and people were enjoying it. They loved the group. It was still surprising to me how well it was working for them and how much they loved it. They basically found a home there. And by January of this year, we sold almost 1,000. We had to divide the group into 2 separate months. We run 2 groups per month. So we have 2 groups that are right around 500 people. And it's run that way ever since.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, I've had some questions that I've really been looking forward to asking you on this, but, I've watched everything y'all have done for the last year or so. And there's 2 things that I notice, which, first and foremost, you're very, very, very good and very heavy when it comes to amazing photography. So it's almost as if you run around with a full-time photographer attached at your hip. So tell us what your philosophy or business game plan, if you will, is when it comes to building your brand and your thoughts around photography and why that's such a central point to your marketing.
Well, it always has been the number one reason. It's what catches people's interest initially. It all depends on that picture, the picture they see, and it needs to be bright and colorful and beautiful, and it needs to inspire people. It needs to, the food photography, it's so interesting when people say that to me, because I still take pictures with my cell phone, the food pictures, which for a food blog, that's unheard of. The food bloggers, they go in with fancy programs and they edit their pictures. And I've been very successful without doing that. And I remember for a while, I was thinking, I really need to buy a nicer camera and I need to level up. I need to get the programs and learn how to do all this. And now it's almost a point where I'm like, our blog is getting traffic. People love my pictures. They're commenting on them. And I'm thinking how amazing. It's almost part of my inside joke now of in 5 years from now, I kind of still want to say that I still take the picture from my cell phone, because I think it's inspiring to people that there's no excuses. You can make it happen even with minimal. I didn't have all the fancy stuff, and I still don't.
Well, so those are of your food and your Instagram and what you're doing, going about your day. But you also have the professional photo shoots that you're doing. So how often do you do those? And do you have almost like a regimen where it's like, hey, we need to do a photo shoot once a week, once a month? You've gone all over the world. Awesome pics came back from Paris and New York, and so what's your strategy there?
Well, right now we do spring and fall. So we're just about to go in and do our fall. But it's really important to keep it up to date. And people are interested in who you are. What do you actually look like? And if it's a picture from 5 years ago, then I don't really feel like that's fair. That doesn't really show where you're at.
Honest, yeah.
So, and I also feel like it keeps the energy of the brand going, and it keeps things crisp, and it makes it a lot more fun to work in an environment where everything is constantly being updated. And I feel really lucky to be at the place where we're able to do that, because it's a lot of fun. Next week, I'm doing a photo shoot with my daughters, and to be able to go in and let them have hair and makeup and to do all the fun things with them, it seriously makes everything so worth it, because it's just fun. But it's very important to keep a professional appearance and to make things, I really just like things to look nice and to be updated and current. And I feel like that's important.
Yeah, well, I think it helps set your brand apart in a really big way, because you put the time and effort into that most people don't. So I think that's huge. You just crossed over the million fans piece on Facebook. And so I was hoping you would share, exactly how you guys have done that. And is it above and beyond just, consistent posting? Is there some actual stuff going on behind the scenes that you guys are doing? Do you boost your posts? But take us in and share the details with us if you'd be willing to.
Okay. 2 years ago, I listened to an interview with Brendan Bouchard, and he gave his tips for how to build a Facebook page to 1 million. At that point, I didn't believe I could actually do it, but I listened to his tips. I thought there's no way in this world. How does somebody get to that point? It seems so out of what I believed was possible. But his strategies were to share 3 posts per day and to be super consistent. And for the most part, that is what we have done. His opinion was to share something from somebody else's page that is very relevant to what if you find it useful and interesting, then the people following you will find it interesting. Something new, at least once every other day, something to share an older post, and then some type of a quote or something. And as far as the quotes go, I know some people just hate them. But for our brand, it's worked really well, as long as it's something meaningful. If it evokes some kind of emotion in me, if it's humorous, if it makes me feel something, then it makes other people feel something too. And it's so interesting when when I kind of just share something just for the heck of it, and I notice that it doesn't really do that well. When I share something and I have real meaning and I'm like, oh, that really made me feel this way, it does better. So you really do have to be careful what you're sharing. But the other interesting thing, different times a day and different times a week, people are in the mood for different things. On Monday morning, people want to be inspired. They want to set the tone right for their week. So you have to remember that whatever you share, it's helpful, and people look forward to that if you're helping them set the tone for their week. Friday and Saturday nights, people are in the mood for something funny. If you have some kind of joke or they're ready for something light and fun. So I save something that I feel is really funny. I save it for Friday or Saturdays. And Sunday, people are more in a spiritual family. So if you just keep in mind the time of day, it's really important. And obviously for food, I don't share a dinner post at 6 a.m. I'm sharing breakfast, and the time of day and the time of week is really important that you're sending things out at the right time. And if it is, then people just love it. But yeah, as far as the posts, we do boost posts occasionally if they're already doing well. They need to prove that they're already getting a ton of clicks and that it's going to be worth it. And we have several different audiences that will run them too. And it's been really fun playing with that over Facebook is so fascinating to me. And we began to run Instagram ads, and it's all just fascinating to me.
So would you say that it's fair to say that the majority of the results that you've gotten on Facebook have just come from consistently posting, and it's all been built organically?
It has not all been built organically. In the beginning, my first 100,000 likes was 98% organic. I just built it. I didn't have the money to dump it. I played with Facebook ads a little bit, but I wasn't dumping a ton of money into it. So consistency has been huge. And without the consistency, you would have nothing to boost anyway. I mean, it has been a combination, but it is mostly the consistency.
You're right. Absolutely. And so, yeah. And so you said for the first 100,000, mostly organic. And then what were y'all doing specifically afterward to really kind of supercharge things?
Well, at that point, we just had products to sell. The business was making money. Money was flowing in. And that's really important in order to, I know there's so many food blogs. There are so many amazing food blogs out there. I'll be searching the web and I'll find something just beautiful. And I'll think, gosh, they're getting no traffic at all. It's so sad. This post is beautiful. I don't think people share their stuff often enough. And I also think people are afraid to share older content, which is something I do a ton because some of my older stuff people love and it's helpful. And even people who have seen it 3 or 4 times, they will comment back on it and say, thank you so much for sharing this. I wanted to make this again. I've been looking for this recipe, or I made this and I love it. But the majority of people, because of the algorithms and the way that social media works, the majority haven't even seen it. So you should never be afraid to share your older content, especially if it's helpful and good. Otherwise, it's just hidden. It's hidden on your blog.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more there. Going back to last question on the Facebook fan page, if you were going to teach me or teach somebody else, and I said, Rachel, I would love to get my fan page up to 1 million people. I have a little bit of money to put towards, ad spend or boosting. What do I need to do?
I actually was paid by people for a little while, and this is part of how I built my own blog, as I was helping people with this. But it's very important to post 3 or 4 times per day. And if one of those posts is getting more comments, more people are more interested in it than the other ones, those are the ones that you focus on. Those are the ones you boost. Just don't even worry about the other ones, but still be consistent. It's really consistency. You just need to show up. And that being said, I wasn't always consistent. Sometimes there were a couple of days where I would just take off with the kids and it still worked. But the majority of the time I was consistent. Well,
that actually leads me to the next question that I had for you, which is, it would appear to me that you actually have a Superwoman costume on under whatever you're wearing every day, because I have no idea how you actually get all of this done. So you put a lot of time and attention to presenting yourself well every day. You're running a business that's getting bigger and bigger. You have 4 kids. How in the world are you managing all of this?
Well, I think the first reason, I read a quote by Tony Robbins the other day, and I was like, that describes my life. That is so, okay. So his quote is, most people have this illusion of life-work balance. What's true is life-work integration. And that is how I do it. My life and my business are so connected. My kids are actually in some of my Facebook groups. They give me hints and tips, and they love to be a part of the whole process. They're very aware of what mom is doing, and I talk to them a lot about the whole process. I also have quite a few employees. I have a lot of people helping, because there was a point where when you have a Facebook fan page, you're getting messages on. I would get 20 messages per day. There were people posting comments on the posts. And I mean, some of the once in a while, there would be 200 comments, and many of which are questions. And I feel I want to help them and I want to answer back. And I don't want to be that person that feels like I'm going to ignore people. I'm getting comments on the blog and questions. I'm getting emails, hundreds per day sometimes. And then questions on the Instagram. And then my personal Facebook, I have messages. And there was a point where I was so overwhelmed. I was thinking, I've got to figure out how to do this, because there are just so many questions in the customer service. So it really just happened over a few months and at first, I was so reluctant to have somebody else help me with that customer service, because when I would reply to emails, I wanted it to be very sincere. And I was always, I wanted to answer them myself, and I wanted to hear what they were saying. But there was a point where I just could not. I could not run the business, and it's growing, and it was growing really fast, especially in January. The servers broke. The 1st of January, we had this traffic surge. Everybody had their New Year's resolution, and we were not prepared. We had no idea what was about to happen. The website was getting more hits than it ever had. The sales were up, and our servers broke, meaning people could not access their products. They couldn't access their ebooks. They couldn't access their group that they had just. So I'm in there. It's New Year's Eve, and I am in my email answering hundreds of people's emails, giving them the links, because they're wondering, is this a fraud? What is it? And I'm like, no, the website's down. Our server broke. We just had no idea what was about to happen. So from January on, we've just had to slowly hire people to help with customer service. And it's actually worked so great, because I'm so much happier. The right people still direct the messages that I need to actually see. And I still go in and check and read things, but it's helped so much. I have somebody full-time on the fan page responding to messages, and they're responded to immediately. Whereas before, there would be days that would go by and I couldn't get to them, and I felt so overwhelmed. So it's so much better.
Yeah.
Just letting people help.
Absolutely. So real quick, just out of curiosity, what does your average daily routine look like? Take us through that.
Well, this summer has been a little more lax. For the first time in a few years, I have taken the summer and really relaxed with the kids, and we've kind of done whatever we wanted, and it's been really nice. And the interesting thing about that is, about the time the kids got out of school, I was exhausted. It had been a couple years, and I was creating so much new content, helping people. I had gone through my divorce. I had moved. I had been traveling a ton, and I was like, I just need a break. Which the amazing thing is, because of the employees and because of all the content I had created, I think there was 4 or 5 weeks where I created 3 pieces of new content, but I basically just spent some much needed time with the kids, and now I'm getting back on my schedule, and I feel so much better. I feel my mind is creative again. I'm reinvigorated in my groups to help them properly. It was really nice to be able to take that. But typically during the school year, I'm up at either 5 or 6, and I love to do hot yoga. I feel best, and I'm not going to say that I'm always consistent, but I do feel best when I get up and do that before anything else. And I feel like I'm better capable to take care of the kids. It gives me more energy. I'm so much better for everybody. Mm-hmm. And then I will go into the groups and post. I have a message that I like to give them every day, and I'll change it up depending on how I'm feeling. And my mind is always the freshest for the work that I know that I have to do. I can do the best early in the morning. Make the kids breakfast, take a little time, to talk to them and enjoy them, and then get them to school. And then the first couple hours, I do the work that I have to do. I get that out of the way, and then I get to play, which for me, play is my social media stuff and creating new recipes. I could do that the entire rest of the day once I know my stuff is done. And it's playtime with the kids too. So I actually feel like the way my work life is set up, it's perfect for a stay-at-home mom. It's perfect. I'm able to be there for my kids. I'm able to go on field trips with them. I'm able to make my own schedule. I'm able to travel. I'm really grateful for the way that things have turned out.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely amazing when you think about it, when you can run this 1 million person strong empire from your laptop and a cell phone.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple minutes left. 2 quick questions for you. One, have you been approached yet to do any kind of TV show?
There was a point where, I think it was last fall, somebody had actually entered me into the next Food Network star. I did not enter myself. And they called me immediately, and I did the interview. And the problem was, for a solid, I don't remember if it was 30 or 60 days. I want to say 30, but you have to be all on them. Like, meaning I couldn't come home on the weekends. I couldn't fly home to see my kids. I would not be able to run my business, and my business was doing really well at the time. And I was really happy and fulfilled with it. I did not want to leave it. But the biggest thing was just the kids. It wouldn't work with, my kids are too young to leave for a month. So that fizzled out really fast. And I think, I'm really happy with what I'm doing now. I'd rather be doing.
Yeah. Without that pressure and schedule and stuff. That's awesome. Yeah. So we've got 2 or 3 minutes left. What final piece of advice, lesson learned, words of wisdom would you like to share with everybody?
So I think just being on social media, being just part of this whole thing that we're part of, you are going to hear so much advice, and some of it is conflicting. Actually, most of it is conflicting. What works for one person does not work for another. People will tell you you're doing certain things wrong. It's not always true. I think it's good to choose people that you want to follow and emulate and take their best advice, but it doesn't mean that that is exactly how it's going to work for you. So many of the things in my business I'm doing differently than what I was told would work. We're going against so many of the rules that I had read about, and you really have to follow your own instincts. It's good to take other people's advice, but you have to follow your own gut.
Yeah, I mean, I just have to say that the real secret to your success has been echoed through many, many other individuals on social media, whether it's Brendan or Casey Neistat on YouTube, whoever it may be. All of y'all have one thing in common, which is you've been consistently posting and interacting with your audience every day for, at least 1 to 2 years. And yes, that's the secret. So, if you're not willing to do that, if it's not fun for you, which I have to say for me, I can't do it. I never post on Facebook because it's just, oh my God, it sounds like torture. But,
the reason people go on Facebook is to be entertained. There's sometimes more people on social media than on TV these days. They want to go to social media and they want to be entertained. They want to learn something too, but mostly they want to be entertained. So if you can entertain them in some way and catch their attention, that's what people want. They want to be entertained.
Yeah, agreed. Awesome. Well, this has been fantastic. Where can everyone go to connect with you? Facebook, Instagram, your website, all of that good stuff.
Just the website, cleanfoodcrush.com. Awesome.
Well, Rachel, thank you so much for coming on and for sharing your story. This has been amazing. I am going to look forward to watching your career ascend into the stars here over the next couple of years. And Thank you for everything that you're doing as far as, your message that you're bringing to the world when it comes to clean food. That's obviously something we're both very passionate about, and that's super important. So thank you so much for the time, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. It was fun talking.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. And go connect with Rachel at cleanfoodcrush.com, and we'll see you next week.